Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome back. I'd like to welcome you to the session, Smarter, Not Harder, AI Tools for Small Business Success. I think we all see, everywhere we look, you see instances of artificial intelligence where computers are basically mimicking human intelligence to recognize patterns, to figure out how to market to you, to figure out whether your card can be used in that location or not, or you're out of pattern. So we see instances of it all over. Today, what we're trying to do is find ways that we as small business people can use artificial intelligence to leverage that in our business context. So we're hoping to have a really good discussion about that today with our panel members. So thank you for joining us for that discussion. My name is Michael Ball, and I work with the fabulous group of people at Chick-Fil-A here in Waxahachie. Thank you. And we are proud to be members of the Waxahachie Chamber of Commerce. Any other chamber members here? Give a shout. It's a great chamber of commerce. I have to say I've been involved in a lot of different chambers in different parts of the country, and this is the best chamber of commerce I've ever been involved with from an engagement and from it actually helping you grow your business perspective. So thank you to all the people that work so hard to do that, as members, as ambassadors, etc. Can you guys hear me okay? I don't usually have a problem with people hearing me. Okay, so I'm happy to be joined this morning by Keisha and Jay for this exciting discussion. So before I have them each introduce themselves, I want to let you know we will have an open mic question and answer session toward the end of our discussion today. So if somebody says something today that prompts you and you're like, I want to know more about that, please jot that down so we can get that question answered at the end, okay? All right. We're going to start ladies first. Keisha.
Hi, I'm Keisha Solomon, CEO and founder of EVOBRAND Concepts, formerly EVOBRAND Marketing. Stands for Evolving Ideas and Elevating Brands. We had to change our name based on our demands from our clients. Instead of just marketing, we evolved naturally and organically into a branding agency. We focus on keeping up with the latest technologies and implementing those for our clients. We are committed to being leaders in the marketing and innovation field. By adopting AI, we are equipping brands with the tools that they need to succeed in the modern digital landscape. Our mission is simple, and that is to help you unlock your full potential and thrive in a world where creativity and technology go hand in hand.
All right, and Jay Cruzan.
Hey, hope everybody's having a great day out there. So Caliber is my company. I'm Jay Cruzan, and of course, I'm part of the ownership of this company. And basically, what we are is a trusted advisor. We basically want to get out there and help you with your technology. So pretty much no matter what sort of technology need that you have, our company basically can help you connect with another company. We have over 300 different partners that we do business with, and we basically deliver a consultant-like experience without ever billing you, okay, which is awesome. And then we help you figure out what partner would be the best fit for your company. So whether it's AI, LAN, WAN, IT, MSP, whatever, we can help you. And we have a lot of experts that we draw from. So if you want to hit the easy button, kind of like, we're the chat GPT of technology, just reach out to us and we can have a conversation. That's about Caliber. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, well, if you look around, you're going to see people you're surrounded by small business people who are looking for ways to leverage technology, to leverage other people's knowledge, to gain an advantage for themselves. Everybody wants to grow their business, and we're hoping that AI will help us be able to do that. So with that as our context, I'm sure people are asking, could AI really help my business in a meaningful way? So Keisha, I'm hoping you can share maybe a specific example for us of how an AI tool solved a real problem, either in your own business operation or that of a client, and what was the measurable impact of that?
Okay, well, we used to spend several hours in market research and competitive analysis. We use ChatGPT now to do all those things for us. We also implement AI in our marketing campaigns. we freed up at least 8 hours a week, and that's for every member of my team, for reaching out to clients and answering questions. We use chat agents on their website. We fed it information, and it's able to answer anything just about that any question you have about our services, and we're implementing those same strategies in our clients' websites. We also use it for our content creation. Instead of having to sit and write everything out, we'll have ChatGPT or Claude or any of these new tools, DeepSeek works as well, to just create a calendar for us to put out that content. So we're not spending days creating a week's worth of content. We can do that within 20 minutes. And everyone has access to these tools. There's Jasper, there are a number of them. They come out every day, so I would just suggest play around with them, see which one works for you. And we'll also give you a tool where you can download a list of AI tools that you can implement today and help you save time. If you want to take a challenge, I have a 5-day challenge on my website where you can get an email every day to take actionable steps to help you save time in your business. We were able to increase our client retention by 25%, and this allowed us to take on 4 additional clients, huge clients, without hiring any additional staff. And just a year ago, that would have been impossible for me. So I definitely encourage you, if you have any fear of AI, get over it.
Jay, what would you like to add?
Well, I would say that that as far as where we're seeing, wins for clients, and relatively easy wins, probably have a lot to do with agents. Okay, you have a small call center environment, or a large call center environment. Basically the big challenges that you've got is how fast can you train employees to basically take calls. And so what we're seeing in that space is AI being able to assist agents, live agents, and being able to answer questions correctly, with pop-ups that pop up on the screen to basically, help that agent answer that question appropriately. So AI basically assists that agent through the call journey, so that basically, we're able to help you train your employees much, much faster and get them on the floor and be more productive. And the other thing that I think happens is that, if you have agents, one of the issues that you have is turnover. And so training them quickly is really important, but also, helping give the right answers to the client and access to the right data helps their employee sat go up as well. So those you're able to retain employees a little bit longer, and that's one of the areas where it's kind of an easy place to plug AI in. The ROI on that is it's phenomenal, and basically customers are winning. There's lots of other things that you can do with AI, but that's one of the spots, because I'm a voice guy, I'm a technology guy, and we focus on voice a lot. So that is one of the places where we're seeing really big wins with AI, and I would call those easy wins. Okay.
Awesome, thank you. So as you look around the room here and you see there's people who are like wondering, am I ready for AI in my business? Jay, I'm going to direct this question to you. So I'm going to pick on you, Randy, for a second. So let's just say Randy's like, how am I going to start doing AI in my business? Where would I start to figure out what would give me the best impact, right? The previous panel that was up here was talking a little bit about AI as well. And one of the things that they suggested, which I think is a great suggestion, is start small, but start, right? Don't ignore it. But where do you start? How do you figure out what's the best place to start and what's going to give you the biggest impact for where you are starting?
Well, this is a shameless plug. The first thing that I would do is get a trusted advisor and sit down and start having a conversation about your company. I think that for a lot of companies, just beginning the conversation, it's good to have somebody that can help facilitate that, because there's a lot to think about with AI. The first thing that I would be concerned about is making sure that I'm giving AI access to the right data. You know, there's some data you really don't want AI to have access to, right? So, you know, I mean, if employees basically, you know, have access to all your data and you don't really want them to know what everybody's getting paid, well, you might want to limit that data, right? So first thing we want to do is decide, you know, really what data do we want AI to have access to. Probably want to talk a little bit about how we're going to protect that data so that, I mean, we brought up DeepSeek a little earlier, and DeepSeek's great. It really is. But, you know, the problem is that, it's based out of China, right? And we don't always know that, you know, those folks are our friends. So how do we protect that data, you know, when we start using the different AI tools? So those are all things that you want to think about. But, you know, then you're going to start jumping into, you know, your business. And the thought process behind AI allows you to really dig into your business and I think help a lot with where are you having problems? Is it turnover? You know, what's causing that turnover? What's critical for my business to move forward? You know, what's slowing us down? You know, asking yourself questions about, you know, how can we speed up those processes and, you know, your workflows so that you can improve how you do business. And really that's where AI comes in, you know, not only in places like the call center, where we can basically help train your agents faster and even replace agents in sometimes. Simple questions, AI can answer those questions. But at the same time, you're going to have workflows throughout your organization that AI can assist with. And once we plug in AI, you're able to basically produce those reports potentially much faster. You know, you be able to pull intelligence out of that information and hopefully be able to make better decisions. So those are really the kinds of things that I would start thinking about, you know, starting number one by calling a trusted advisor.
So Keisha, how would you like to add to that? Do you have some thoughts about what would be the most practical first step for a small business owner who may be intimidated by AI but wants to start somewhere simple and affordable?
Absolutely. You definitely want to start with AI writing assistance. Everyday tasks like email responses, content creation, basic content, if you want content for your website, just things that you do every day. You can find something that's a pain point for you and prompt ChatGPT to give you answers for that. You can go in with something that may be a paid version of ChatGPT, and it's low risk. It can start at $20 a month. It will provide you with immediate value, and it will build your confidence with these AI tools. So just start small, something that you do every day. It could be just an administrative assistant, something that answers simple questions on your website. So just start. Don't ignore it because 3 years from now, it's going to become mandatory. You're going to have to know it, and you want to be ahead of the curve.
Thank you. Do you have any observations about mistakes that people have made when they've started doing this and maybe some pitfalls that we could help people avoid?
Myself, I tried to implement too many tools at once. I'm one of the original contributors to WordPress, so anything open source, I'm all over it immediately. So I tried to implement everything I could, and it overwhelmed my team. I almost lost someone that was, that had been with me for a while, and I didn't know how I would even survive without them. So I had to bring myself back and stop trying to implement everything at once. Master one thing, and then go on to the next. You want to check in with your analytics. Definitely use it to make sure you're getting a good return on your investment, and your time is also an investment. So again, just choose one tool, master it, and then move on to the next.
So you mentioned WordPress as an open source. Jay, one of the things that you had mentioned relative to open source was that there's a bit of a gotcha there. If you're not sure, if you don't go into it intentionally, that you may actually share information that you don't want to, not just with your employees, but with the world and whoever owns that software. Can you elaborate on that for us?
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to AI, you definitely want to put some thought into what your company values are. I mean, how do you want to use it? Because AI is a powerful tool, and you want to make sure that however you're using AI aligns with your company's values. So when you're thinking about, using that tool, you really want to make sure that you have a committee built and that you're thinking that through. And that really should include, what sort of data we're going to give AI access to. And then, that data, I mean, let's face it, there's a reason why, hacking is such a lucrative business. And it's because data is so valuable. And if you think about, what is the modern day gold? It's data, right? That's the reason why people are hacking it all the time. So when you're thinking about using AI, something else that you have to consider is how are you going to protect that data, and what is the governance that you're going to put around that data. So those are all conversations that are important to be having, and highly recommend that whenever you are starting your AI journey. So the one thing I will say is if you do have a good cybersecurity policy already set up, a lot of the work has already been done. So, and I think for a lot of SMBs, mid-sized companies, they've still got a lot of work to do there. But so I would assume that with AI, a lot of the thought process that you put around your cybersecurity policy as well as your AI policy are going to overlap. So.
Yeah, I also want to add that you don't want to let AI do everything for you. You want to check its work. Look at it as an intern. So it's not going to know everything. You can train it to know your business, but you definitely want to go back and check it. I've made some mistakes, and they were quite embarrassing. So just make sure you're not just letting it handle everything for you.
Trust but verify, right? Okay, the panel that was up here before us talked a little bit about how AI is a tool that will generate starting points for you, right? So as where you give it the information and it will give you something you can start with and you can work with, you can massage what they give you, what AI gives you to then help achieve your goal there. One of them alluded to the idea of data quality, and what you put in has a huge impact on what you get out, right? And how important it is that you learn how to give good prompts and that you have good quality data with the right parameters around it. Can you talk a little bit about that, Keisha?
Yeah, prompt engineering. You want to be specific. You can ask ChatGPT to help you prompt. So it's not just, you don't just put your prompt in and take whatever it gives you. Feed it information slowly, have conversations with it. Look at it as autonomous. It may not be, it may be, I don't know, but think of it as it is, and train it to know your business. ChatGPT sometimes, or Claude, sounds more like me sometimes than I do. It's surprising. But don't just take the first thing it gives you and run with it. Make it sound authentic. You want to spend time with it. Just allow it to get to know you as a person. Even go back sometimes. You can ask it, based on our interactions, what have you learned about me? And if it gives you something you don't like, you can train it to be a little bit better. So it's basically like your employee. And just look at it as a good tool. It's not going to take over your business. It can't replace you, and it's most likely not going to replace your employees. But you want to encourage your employees to adopt these tools as well, because it can help them save time and focus on your customers instead of mundane tasks that can be handled with AI.
Jay, anything you'd like to add to that?
So I think what we're talking about there has to do with data, and is the data good? Is it real, right? So and then because AI is going to be providing you advice based off of the quality of data that you feed it. So and anytime you start a program to fix a problem in your business, I'm a bit of a sales guy, so I tend to think about things in terms of how do sales guys think and how does a sales manager think. Well, and I think about CRMs. So how many people in here have CRMs? bunch of you. So, and then you think about, those salespeople that are
Shelley
putting.
would want you to explain what that is.
So CRM is your sales database, right? So like Salesforce is a good example of a sales database. So, so basically, you got all these salespeople running around, filling out the information in your CRM. How many of you believe that that data is accurate? Okay. So now I'm going to ask AI to help me provide business intelligence analysis based off of that data, right? So the first thing we've got to do, when we're starting to think about AI is we really have to start with an assessment of where you are in your AI journey. What kind of data are we going to feed into AI so that we can put you in a position to make appropriate decisions, accurate decisions based off of what's real? Because, AI needs, you want it to be your truth, right? So you want to be able to pull some truth out of it. And there are different tools that we can add to help supplement AI. One of the cool things about it, this is so big brother. I know it sounds so big brother, but, we have the ability to listen into all the conversations now, okay? So, and then from those conversations, we can basically put, data into the CRM for you, okay? Now you're a sales manager, right? And somebody's saying they're going to close $1 million deal, by the end of the month, okay? Well, AI has been listening to those conversations. So as a sales manager, you can ask for a summary on that opportunity. And guess what happens? That salesperson hadn't even talked to that hadn't even talked to that customer and hadn't even sent an email to them. So you probably don't want to forecast that. So there are opportunities to basically be able to come in, provide an assessment, figure out what we need to do to basically improve your data so that it's accurate, and then move you towards, an AI environment where you have proper business intelligence and you can make some awesome decisions with it. So really, that's basically would be my recommendation anytime you start your AI journey.
Yeah, clean up all of your databases before you dump it into AI. It can turn out to be a whole mess if you don't do that.
Garbage in, garbage out, right? There you go. Okay, so from a standpoint of providing services to people, providing answers to people, when people are in a knowledge-based business and they're using artificial intelligence to help provide those services to people, in that scenario or in other scenarios, do you think that there are ethical considerations relative to the use of AI? How much do you represent that you've used AI to produce this solution for someone? And how much do you represent as your own work? And how do you kind of dance on the knife blade of that? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, we have an initiative called Pivotal Voice where we use AI to amplify voices in communities like politicians, thought leaders in their fields. And that is a very easy line to cross. So what we've done, we have a baseline of ethics, certain things we just won't do. Like we can recreate you and your voice and everything and create a script and just add it to your clone. It sounds just like you, and we can get it to say just about anything. So we just make sure the message is authentic, and ethics it's like I said, it's really easy to cross that line. So you just make sure that you don't.
Keisha, when you say that you've defined a policy relative to that, the we, I assume, is an organization or your company that you're working with. How important do you think it is that each of the folks here, as they're considering that, would establish that for themselves, right, as part of their governance over the use of AI?
I would say really go with your gut. We all know what's right and what's wrong. If it doesn't feel right, it most likely isn't. Some things, you may just have to take pause, sit with yourself, meditate if you pray, whatever it is that you want to do about it, because I can't tell you what that looks like.
But from a standpoint of you having it defined ahead of time, though, so that your people act consistently with what you have as a policy, do you think that's important?
It is. It is. You want everything to align with your values, and having a strong core value system, I think, is really important, and make sure your whole team is on the same page. You want your message to be valuable, credible, and true.
Jay, what are your thoughts?
Well, it kind of goes back to a previous question about making sure that you spend time thinking about your values, and really, I mean, that goes into AI governance, right? So, if your company, you should start thinking about, what are your AI governance policies, and start writing an HR policy. I mean, I'd go get with my HR department and start figuring that out because your employees are already using AI. Right. So anyway, there's a ton of AI usage happening in your organization today, and a lot of management isn't aware of it. I mean, I'd say probably about 40% of managers, if you did a poll, they'd probably say no, we're not using it, and then about 70% of the employees would say yes, we're using it. So it's already being used. It's deployed out there, and the problem is that you don't know what data they're sharing with open source AI, So you want to make sure that you're protecting that data. And the cool part about it is if you had a trusted advisor, he would be able to advise you on this case, would be able to advise you on what sort of tools that you can put in place to basically help you enforce those policies using AI. How about that?
Great, thank you so much. Okay, so the question of outsourcing or insourcing, right, of actually the implementation of AI, what should people consider, right? I mean, this can take on a life of its own. If Chelsea decides that they're going to implement this, and Chelsea and Ryan, right, they're going to do this at Ellis County Title, and they've decided we're going to use AI for this. And then so Chelsea's going to take a little webinar on this and learn about this tool, and pretty soon she's doing something else, and she's not doing title work anymore. She's just figuring out how does AI work, and it's basically sucking the life out of her. That can happen. I've seen it happen with people. So how do people avoid that and yet, not break the bank, if you will, in that? How would you encourage people to think about insource versus outsource in the AI context, Jay?
Well, I think the biggest difficulty is that everybody looks at AI as an IT. I mean, they basically go, we got an IT department, we're good, okay. But the problem with IT is that it's gotten so big, and everything is broken down into different sets of expertise. I mean, you've got your traditional help desk, where they're basically helping you with your Microsoft, they're taking care of network problems. Well, then there's a whole other field that's really started around cybersecurity, and cybersecurity has become its own thing. I mean, they have C-level employees now that basically run the cyber portion of businesses. And so AI is going to be its own thing, and you're going to have internal expertise to be able to manage your own solution. And there's going to be some companies out there that are going to have the talent that are, they're going to be able to do it, But I mean, we're at we may be in the second inning as far as AI goes, maybe third, second and a half, I don't even know. But we're in the early stages of basically this part of, the IT solution really evolving. And so it's going to be very difficult to find people to manage that environment for you. So from my perspective, if you're starting to think about how you're going to use AI, I mean, you really need to partner, a trusted advisor, and somebody to be able to come in and help guide you through that process. So I would highly encourage you, whether it's Keisha with the marketing side, or or what we do. I mean, we really would like to be able to come in and help guide you through that process. And I mean, it's new and scary.
Keisha, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, we just had a pilot program, EVOBRAND Academy, where we are training teenagers or young people from 14 to 21 to utilize these tools. So I would encourage you to teach your young people, or encourage them to learn these tools, and take on interns. You can also just, a lot of the tools that you're using now have implemented AI, like Hootsuite, MailChimp. A lot of these things, you just have to go in and explore. Most of it you won't have to outsource, because these tools are available. Everything that you're using eventually will adopt AI into these programs. So just watch out for them.
Thank you. All right, well, we're going to go ahead and open it up for questions now. We'll have someone walking around with a microphone. So if you have a question, please feel free to raise your hand over here, Emily. By the way, as they're getting the microphone to her, when they talked about needing interns, remember Shelly was talking about the fact that she could hook you up with that, so don't be afraid to look for her. If you need somebody who has some of that expertise with a brain that may be a little more elastic, not naming any names, okay?
Yeah, my question is beyond the basic level of utilizing ChatGPT, am I utilizing it to its fullest extent? And are there other applications that I could be using? Because I've just tapped the surface and I'm not even sure what there is out there for me to utilize.
I would say explore tools similar to ChatGPT, like Claude, Gemini. You might find that they'll give you better outputs. I would take the same question and put it in each one. And even if you're DeepSeek, maybe, I use them all. So I'll put the same question in all of them and see which one gives me the best output, and I'll roll with that. And it's best, once you decide, stay in that one chat. Don't open up a new chat, just stay there so it can retain that information. Even though AI is like one giant brain, everything, if anybody watches Star Trek, is like the Borg, everything goes into that hive mind, but once you exit that chat, it's going to pretend that it didn't. So just stay in that chat and ask it more questions, have a conversation with it.
Yeah, so
Hi there, guys. Please, yes.
What? Did we get somebody doing what? Okay.
That
sorry.
was me talking,
Yeah.
Jay. You're good.
Okay.
Go ahead.
That confused me.
I was like, whoop, I'm talking at the same time as Jay. Just kidding. Please.
So I was just going to say, with DeepSeek AI, right? So you have the ability to have your own AI sitting on a server within your environment, okay? So you don't have to use open source AI. I don't, it doesn't mean that, I would fully trust DeepSeek, sitting on my server, with, that particular AI that just serves me, right? So it's not supposed to exit your environment. And I'm not saying that that's the right thing, but we could look at it together and see if it's the right fit for your environment. Because the beautiful thing about DeepSeek is that they've figured out a way to make it very cost effective. I mean, that's the one thing that that they've done very, very well. And as far as an industry goes, I mean, we look at it and we're excited because we're trying to figure out how to drive price or cost down in the industry. And I think, anybody that watches this industry knows that we need power. So power companies are probably a good thing to be investing in right now. I'm just saying, and data centers too. But one of the things that DeepSeek has brought to the table is the ability to be able to build your own server, with your own AI in it. And if you put the right security tools around it, we believe, we can keep that information safe for you. So just a thought.
I love it. Hey, guys, my name is Douglas Hussar. It's good to be seeing you guys up there. Hi again, Keisha. Ironically, just was sitting with her. Lovely lady. I am a marketing contractor and brand developer myself. We're slowly transitioning to an agency as well, and we do that through SEO and content creation, which very much leads me into AI. I have many clients that have run into this issue. The issue is this feeling of plagiarism. I have a couple different clients that will come to me and say, hey, I don't want to use AI because I know that it's pulling from the internet and it's pulling from image sources. A lot of the artists that I use, they're like, oh no, it's pulling from other people's images. I don't want to steal from them, and I don't want to pull from this information base because it's from someone's blog, and I'm borrowing information that is not my own. And so they get that feeling and they instantly come to me and say, I don't want to use AI. What would you say to some of my clients and the about 3 or 4 different people that I've run into that are very much against the plagiarism of AI?
Prompt engineering is very important. You can tell AI to make this a unique concept for me. Be specific. Tell them, I want a unique idea for whatever it is, and it shouldn't plagiarize. But you can also tell it to search and see if anybody else has said this. Is this, is this genuine? Does it feel authentic for my branding voice? Just prompting. If you want to ask it to give me ideas on how to prompt. So yeah, just learn how to prompt.
Do we have an attorney in the room? So I actually don't know. I mean, my guess is that, with generative AI, right, it is supposed to be unique. So I mean, I'm pretty sure there's language out there that, that those guys have written, because, obviously they've got a lot of liability when it comes to plagiarism. And so I would think that some of that has been addressed within the industry itself. So I'd probably ask ChatGPT, how do they address it? So that'd probably be where I start. But I think that's really more of a legal question than what we're prepared to answer up here.
This may be more related to IT rather than AI, but what about using virtual machines for the cybersecurity purposes, for integrity and availability?
So I think you're referencing, kind of what we talked about before, building your own AI, and the open source AI platforms, are things that you can download, right, and build your own AI platform. I mean, DeepSeek is a perfect, example of that. So you do have the ability within the open source model to be able to do your own AI. So. Yeah. So, the problem with and then the other part to that is, how do you protect it? And then, so, if you choose to do that yourself, I mean, you can choose to do that yourself, the DIY model, or you can bring in expertise to basically make sure that is secure. And depending on the value of the data, everything, I mean, you have to look at, how valuable is my data, right? So, I mean, if it's something I've got on my website, okay, it's public information, I'm probably not going to worry about it much, right? But, if it's the secret sauce, how do I build that? Well, I'm probably going to protect that, a lot, right? So it all just depends on the data, how you want to protect it.
My name's Mark Balamowitz, and I've been in business 53 years. And the biggest, I just want to bring up a point that's not been, thank y'all. The biggest point that I'd like to say is tax abatements, using my tax money to give to competitors to compete against me. And small town bureaucracies, such as code enforcement, getting a certificate of occupancy, and complying with all those particular things. And then even at a greater level, executive orders, or, can wipe your business out in no time. But tax abatements really need to be totally eliminated. And a good example of a tax abatement, Escalades are no longer built in Arlington, Texas. The Michigan gave General Motors $500 million, a grant of tax money, to move to Michigan. In the Constitution of the United States, that's prohibited, to use money from one state to one area to have an advantage over another. And we're going to be 250 years of a country, and what I think everyone in here needs to start doing is reading your Constitution and challenging the government on any bit of it. And I've even gone to jail for 2 days, and I'm not afraid to go again.
Well, I certainly don't necessarily disagree with your perspective there. I didn't hear a question in there about artificial intelligence. I think I heard more of an allusion to maybe the lack of intelligence being applied in certain contexts, so thank you for your comment. We have another question over here. We have time for one more question.
Hi, Michelle Miller here. Thank you for having me. It's been a great time so far. One of my favorite business agility definitions is from Michael Wade, where it says if you increase your hyper awareness both internally and externally, it would lead to informed decision-making, which would lead to fast execution. And as a small business, we all want to increase our business agility. When I think of AI, I think of it as an important tool, but I'm scared to use it as a resource to totally replace, because I also believe in human agility, and I believe in that human connection when you go out to procurement and understanding the person behind that email and building those relationships. So with AI and small business, I think, how do you really create that balance between utilizing AI as a resource that can increase your hyper awareness, but at the same time, ensuring that you're investing in human agility as well?
I think you could just use it as a starting point. Look maybe like a draft, and it's definitely not going to replace that human touch that you want to share with your customers. So just use it as a base, and it will still save you a lot of time. I mean, everybody drafts everything, and you look it over. Just use it for your draft and add your emotions and your input after the draft is made. It's still going to save you a lot of time.
So just to jump in here, I think I would I'd look at my business and basically where I'm losing time, because your most valuable asset as a small business owner is your time, right? And so where are you spending your time with a lot of repeatable processes? Okay, so and where do you have turnover? And really start looking at where are we doing the same thing over and over and over and over again, and that's where you start thinking about AI. So. And I would look at the applications where I'm spending a lot of time, and start thinking about if I were able to automate this workflow, could I save time, and then what would I do at that time, and then basically you can kind of figure that out. So I mean that'd be my recommendation.
Utilizing AI in those repetitive tasks will leave you more time to spend with your customers, and it can increase your retention rate.
All right. Well, Michael, Keisha, Jay, thank you so much for all of this knowledge. Let's give them a round of applause.